Hi everybody. So this is a second part of the supplementary content video for the entertainment comparisons video where Matt and I compared the Friends finale and the Cougar Town finale. I wanted to get into a little bit more detail about certain episodes of Cougar Town and why I liked or disliked them, because much like with Friends, I have made a top 10 list of least favorite and least favorite episodes. So, let's start with the favorites. This is for seasons 4 to 6 of Cougar Town. The first episode I wanted to talk about is Flirting with Time. This episode is the 7th episode in season 4, and it's the flashback episode where we learn how all of the characters met each other, and when Jules and Bobby first moved into the cul-de-sac. So as Matt and I mentioned in our video, Cougar Town is not a spin-off of Friends, but there are several different episodes in Cougar Town that have similar plot lines to Friends or make references to Friends, and I'm going to mention a few of those episodes in this video. With Flirting with Time, as I said, this is a flashback episode to how all of the characters met each other. This is just like the episode in, I think it's season 3 of Friends, when Janice is asking them like how things would have been different if they hadn't met each other or something like that. And this is the episode where like we find out that Chandler was almost a roommate with the erotic photographer, but then Mr. Heckle scared the erotic photographer away, and that's how Joey became his roommate. We find out in this episode of Friends that Monica and Phoebe were originally roommates, but Phoebe moves out of the apartment because she can't stand Monica's OCD tendencies, and Chandler comforts her when she's really upset about Phoebe moving out by saying, "You're my favorite person in real life." And that's how we get the hint of them being together. The other episode that I like a lot of Friends that focuses on an alternate universe version of Chandler and Monica is the one with the one that could have been. Like, this episode focuses on like what the Friends would have been like if they hadn't met each other at all, or something like that. And in this episode, Chandler is a writer for Archie Comics, and Monica is still overweight, but I think Chandler somehow encouraged her to lose weight. And the thing I like the best about that alternative universe episode that saves it from being totally boring is the fact that Chandler and Monica still end up together in the alternate universe. My next favorite episode of Cougar Town is Don't Fade on Me. So Matt and I talk about this in the video that we made last week. Matt and I talk about this video in our comparisons video, and the reason why it's our favorite episode is because it's the start of the Alzheimer's plot line for Jules' dad, and we just think that Courtney Cox and her team of writers for Cougar Town did a really, really good job with executing this plot line and how it develops over the course of the rest of the show. The next episode that's my favorite is Halftime Real Travel. Matt and I also talked about this episode in our video, so the video that we made with entertainment comparisons will be in the description box below if you want to hear our thoughts on that episode. The next episode that was our favorite is Like a Diamond. we have reviewed this episode in several different videos. The episode where we talked about romantic comedy, TV shows, and movies, because the first time we reviewed this episode was on Valentine's Day, and the second time we reviewed it was in the video we made at the end of July where we reviewed Friends, Lovers, and a Big Terrible Thing. Obviously, the reason why we review this in Matthew Perry's memoir is because, in the video where we reviewed Matthew Perry's memoir, is because Matthew Perry guest stars in this episode as a single wealthy bachelor named Sam who gets into a car accident with Jules. And I like to have the theory, although I don't know if this is true, I supposedly interviewed Courtney Cox for this video, but then the interview ended up not being legitimate because her Instagram was hacked into. But I like to have the theory that Matthew Perry was in the writer's room for that episode of Cougar Town because there is a line of dialogue that he says where he asks Jules out for coffee. And it's very similar to the line that Chandler says in the finale episode of Friends when Rachel says, "Do you want to get coffee? Sure, where?" And the other thing I noticed that's a reference to Friends is in the blooper reel in the end credits of the episode where Matthew Perry accidentally calls Courtney Cox Monica instead of Jules. And something that I will say about this episode that I noticed that I haven't mentioned in the other two videos where we reviewed it was that I could definitely tell that the chemistry between Matthew Perry and Courtney Cox that they had when they played Monica and Chandler still existed in this episode, because you could just tell that they had the same chemistry they had that when they played Monica and Chandler. Then when they played Jules and Sam in this episode, and So the next episode that I wanted to talk about is the trip to Pirates Cove. This is the episode where it's Pirates Day in Gulf Haven, and I just love the whole idea of the pirate theme, and I think it would be really fun to have Andy as a mayor. And it made me think of my senior year of high school when our Spirit Week theme was pirates. So I watched that episode of Cougar Town right before I went to New Hampshire for my high school reunion. And as I said, it made me feel nostalgic for my Spirit Week, my senior year, when our theme was pirates. The next episode I wanted to talk about that I really liked is Refugees. This is the continuation of the Alzheimer's plot, because in this episode, Jules and Bobby play detective because Bobby's boat goes missing. And at the end of the episode, it is revealed that his father-in-law stole the boat as a prank. And the heartbreaking scene in this episode is at the very end when Jules and Bobby are asked by Chick, he says something along the lines of, "I'm so happy your guys' marriage has lasted this long and that you guys still know to have fun." Bobby patiently reminds Chick that him and Jules have been divorced for 10 years, and the question that I always had, even when I was first watching Cougar Town came out in 2009. So I watched it originally around the same time that Glee was on. Like, I think Cougar Town was on ABC at 8, and then at 9, I would switch over to Fox to watch Glee. But anyway, again, as I was saying when I talked about Don't Fade on Me, the plot line of Chick's Alzheimer's is executed so well throughout the rest of this series from that episode in season 4, Don't Fade on Me. And I just wanted to get into the screen and hug Courtney Cox because I could relate so much to how she was feeling in that scene at the end of Refugees, where Jules hugs her dad because she's so sad about his Alzheimer's, because I went through the same thing with both of my grandmas. And it was hard for me to see them lose their memories. The next episode is We Stand a Chance. So in this episode, Jules has her physical and she switches her urine sample with Lori's, so that way her doctor can see that she hasn't been drinking alcohol. And this is where we discover that Lori is pregnant. And I really just loved that storyline. And I also love the character arc between Travis and Lori that developed throughout the series from the end of season 3 or season 2, when he runs away to Hawaii after he drops out of college. You can just tell the friendship between them, and to me, their relationship development is like the Monica and Chandler of Cougar Town. The next episode I really liked was American Dream Part B, which again focuses on where Jules gives up alcohol in support of Lori's pregnancy, but nobody else wants to cooperate. That was actually a really frustrating episode. The next one is The Wild One Forever. This is the one where they rent out the pub. The high school rents out the pub that Grayson owns for their prom because of a flood that the high school has in their gym. And I just really loved the whole vibe of this episode because it made me think of my high school prom and all the fond memories I have from being with my friends on that magical night. The final episode of Cougar Town that I really liked was This One's For Me. So what I really liked the best about this episode is that we find out that Grayson has a secret side job dressing up as an Italian chef in a comedy show at the local pizza place. And I really loved that scene where Jules is watching her husband up on stage and he's truly in his element. So Cougar Town may not be an official spin-off of Friends, but you can definitely tell that certain characters in this show have very similar personalities or interests to the characters in Friends. Like, for example, Grayson is a mixture of Phoebe because he's a musician, Joey because he's an actor, and Chandler because he's emotionally closed off until Jules helps him out of it in season 3, episode 14, Cry to Me. Jules is obviously like Monica, but this novelty wears off after her marriage to Grayson, because then you realize how she's really clingy to Travis and how that gets annoying. And she's also kind of clingy when her father gets Alzheimer's and he wants to still do his Civil War reenactment in the second episode of season 6, Full Grown Boy. My least favorite episodes of Cougar Town are rated as my least favorite episodes because of 3 reasons. Plot lines having slow pacing, being boring, and not relatable or funny. The first one is Restless, which is in season 4, and this is the episode where Jules decides she doesn't want to sell real estate anymore, and that's like the entirety of the whole plot. I was just bored. I thought they could have done without that plot line, actually. The next one was Make It Better. This is the episode of season 4 where Chick moves in with Jules after a surgery, after an injury where he sprains his ankle, and Jules has her own medical problem because she deals with a kidney stone. And the annoying thing to me about Jules in this episode was that she was unwilling to admit that she was in pain, because all she was focused on was wanting to help her dad because she was sick. And she didn't want to tell him that she wasn't feeling well because she felt obliged to take care of him. And there was a really sweet scene between Chick and Jules at the end of the episode that I loved, when they are sitting in the hammock and talking about how they're going to take care of each other always. The next episode is Hard on Me. Oh, no, sorry. You tell me. So this is the 4th episode of season 4. And the thing I didn't like about this episode actually had nothing to do with pacing or unfunny plot. It was the unprofessionalism of Jules' therapist, Lynn, because she basically tries to insert herself into the friend group with Jules and her friends because she has no friends outside of her job. And that is the most unprofessional thing I have ever seen. I know this is a TV show, but no therapist in real life would ever act like that, because it goes against the document that you sign at the beginning when you start to see a therapist, about like HIPAA laws and personal privacy. The next episode is Time to Move On. So this episode is about when Jules' son Travis is about to graduate college, and she's really unsure of what he's going to do in his future. And like, Travis is related. I ranked this episode low because I didn't like how Jules behaved, because obviously her clinginess to Travis really shows through in full force in this episode. And Jules' clinginess to Travis really irritates me. And if there was ever a spin-off to Cougar Town made, I think that Jules and Travis should go to family therapy about the whole clinginess thing. Because it kind of, if you have seen the show Bates Motel, the clinginess that Jules has to Travis is kind of like Patrick Bateman's mother. I have never seen Bates Motel, but I've heard other people talk about it. The next one is Too Good to Be True. Let me actually look up the description of these episodes, and then I will tell you what I did not like about them. So pause for just a minute. Cougar Town. I think we're in season 5, or maybe it's season 6. Let's see. Which episode are we looking for here? I think we are in season 6. Alright, maybe it's season 5. So the next episodes in season 5 that I wanted to talk about are Too Much Ain't Enough and Too Good to Be True. I just think in this episode, Grayson tries too hard to fit in with Travis and his friends. That's what I didn't like about this episode. Too Good to Be True. Travis regrets organizing an open mic night at the coffee house when Andy decides to do stand-up comedy. What I didn't like about this episode is that why Travis couldn't just be upfront with Andy that his stand-up comedy was bad and it was making the coffee house lose money. Because he could have lost his job because of how they were losing clients. The next season 6 episode that I wanted to talk about is You're So Bad. I just didn't think this episode was funny at all. It was really boring. And then finally, the last episode I wanted to talk about is season 6, episode 11, Climb That Hill. What did not make sense to me about this episode is Jules is in her 40s. How can she go through high school, college, in real estate training without ever reading a book? She has claimed that she has never read a book. And Climbing the Hill is basically her facing the challenge of reading a book for the first time. Maybe she just didn't have enough time to read on her own during school because she was always reading for class or something, but I had a hard time believing that she had never read a book before in her life because that's basically what they were saying in the episode. And the number 10 worst episode of Cougar Town is the finale, which Matt and I talk about in our video. So I'm not going to be repetitive and mention what we didn't like about the finale here because you can just see our opinions in the other video, which is linked below. So thank you for tuning in and have a great day.